Professor Danuta Wasserman is a university professor in psychiatry and suicidology at Karolinska Institute and the current director and founding head of the National Center for Suicide Research and Prevention of Mental Ill Health at KI since 1993. Dr. Wasserman is appointed as the director of the WHO Collaborating Center for Research, Methods Development and Training in Suicide Prevention since 1997 until July 2024 and assists in the development of suicide preventive research and suicide preventive programs on 5 continents. She is the former president of the European Psychiatric Association and the International Academy of Suicide Research. She is serving on the board of the WPA since 2008 and chairs presently the Committee on Ethics. In October 2020, Dr. Wasserman was elected as the President-elect of the World Psychiatric Association and is the incoming President in 2023. Professor Wasserman is the Honorary Fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrists in the UK, Honorary Member of the Hungarian and Romanian Psychiatric Associations, and Honorary President of Estonian Swedish Mental Health Institute. She has won numerous national and international honours and awards, including the Public Health Prize from the Nordic Council of Ministers of Health for the outstanding contribution to public mental health research and prevention, the Distinguished Research Award from the American Foundation for Suicide Research, the Hans Rost Prize from the German Association for Suicide Prevention for the outstanding contribution to suicide research and prevention. She was also awarded from the British Medical Association Board of Science Award for the public understanding of science for her book Depression: The Facts, published by Oxford University Press. Dr. Wasserman is the author of numerous scientific articles, reports and book chapters and is the editor of the Oxford textbook of Suicidology and Suicide Prevention, A Global Perspective, published by Oxford University Press in 2009 and 2021. Her comprehensive book for busy clinicians and the broad audience interested in suicide prevention, Suicide and Unnecessary Death, published by Martin Dunitz in 2001, has been translated into Chinese, Japanese and Russian and updated for a new edition by the Oxford University Press in 2016. She is also the chair and member of several national and international working groups on mental health promotion and suicide prevention.
Hello, dear colleagues and friends. My name is Danuta Wasserman and I am the President-elect for the World Psychiatric Association. Today, I will share with you how my background influences my vision for future work in the WPA. In my everyday work, I am Professor of Psychiatry and Suicidology at Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, and the head of the National Swedish Center for Suicide Research and Prevention of Mental Ill Health. Karolinska Institute is well known to all of you as the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine is awarded every year by the Nobel Assembly at the Institute. Since 1997, I serve as the director of the WHO Collaborating Center for Research, Methods Development and Training in Suicide Prevention. In this role, I contributed to the Swedish National Strategies for Suicide Prevention, which were approved by the Swedish Parliament in 2008. During my university education, I was able to study psychology in parallel with my medical studies. The combination of natural and social psychological sciences broadened my perspectives on psychiatric disorders and mental health problems. During my specialist training in general psychiatry, my interest in research was born when confronted with suicide attempts and suicide of young patients. Since then, I have been striving for a comprehensive understanding of this unnecessary death and for knowledge of how to prevent suicide. Over the last decade, my research group has focused on mental health and the development of universal school-based mental health promoting and suicide preventing programs. For many years, I also served at KI as the head of the Department of Public and Global Health Sciences, comprising divisions of social medicine, occupational health, rehabilitation medicine, and mental health. Colleagues from my department learned me a lot. They had many international collaborations with colleagues from Africa, Asia, and South America, which inspired me, and I have built my own global networks in suicide prevention. Through my involvement in international projects run by the World Health Organization, as well as being the principal investigator of several European Union projects, I have met students, researchers, and teachers full of curiosity and energy from all over the world. Those experiences have taught me how important it is to recognize and study facilitators and barriers in implementing new knowledge and new methods, and how important it is to study the attitudes of patients, families, staff, including our psychiatrists' attitudes and the general population towards psychiatry and different treatments. Unfortunately, the stigma that surrounds psychiatric disorders is still widespread. To combat stigma, open communication is the key. We need to learn from each other how to recognize constantly emerging new ways of expressing stigma and how to act and combat it. Continuous communications with patients and families, other professionals, and the public health about the opportunities of treatments, but also about challenges and drawbacks in the treatments, is of utmost importance. The global mental health burden is devastating, not to mention the current COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in increased levels of stress, depression, and anxiety all over the world. Most mental health disorders and mental health problems have major consequences, not only for individuals and the families' well-being, but also for every country's economic prosperity. Perspective and context are important, both when treating people with psychiatric disorders and in mental health promoting actions. The role of social and economic factors on lifestyles cannot be underestimated. Healthy behavioral lifestyles concerning sleep, dietary habits, physical exercise, stress management, social skills, as well as diminishing violent behaviors and substance use should be taught in the early years of life and through the entire lifespan in order to promote good mental health and obtain better outcomes of psychiatric treatments. The mental health of the entire population and of severely ill psychiatric patients is very much intertwined with environmental and social factors. Therefore, my work today is inspired and guided by the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, launched in the year 2015, with the aim of creating a more peaceful and prosperous future for all by the year 2030. The goal on good health and well-being, in which mental health is included, is a new one in comparison with the Millennium Goals and has a high ranking on the United Nations agenda as the number 3, right below goals on no poverty and zero hunger. In the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the specific indicators of improvements in mental health are decreasing suicide rates and a reduction in substance and alcohol use. Achieving progress in one of 17 Sustainable Development Goals can lead to the success of others. For example, reducing poverty and hunger, increasing gender equality, reducing inequalities, increasing the quality of education, creating decent work and economic growth, building sustainable cities and communities will certainly decrease the global burden of mental disorders. What does this mean for us as psychiatrists and to each national psychiatric association? My personal belief is that we should collaborate on 17 Sustainable Development Goals with persons responsible for other sectors in each of our countries, like with the sector for education, employment, economy, etc., to shed the light on our activities and increase awareness on how good mental health contributes to nations' well-being and prosperity. A dedicated involvement in those political goals, which are approved by almost all governments in the world, is very important for us and is instrumental for the promotion of our professional goals and ambitions to improve the quality of life for individuals with psychiatric disorders. There is a wealth of knowledge in all member societies of the World Psychiatric Association about evidence and experience-based treatments, and we need to increase opportunities to learn from one another in educational and research activities. The WPA encompasses 144 national psychiatric associations with a vast knowledge and experience from 120 countries on all continents, with more than 250,000 psychiatrists. However, only a small proportion of these members frequently visits the world and international regional congresses. Therefore, we need to improve dissemination of the vast knowledge about treatment and rehabilitation of psychiatric patients and about methods to improve mental health in communities, schools, and working places. This, however, means overcoming language barriers, which includes adopting high-quality educational materials available today mainly in English, and adapt them to local conditions and translate to all possible languages. My priority is to develop concise and easy-to-use educational materials to begin with in the 6 official World Health Organization languages, which include Arabic, Chinese, French, Spanish, Russian, besides English. I hope that these materials will be translated and culturally adapted to local conditions with the help of dedicated societies and young scholars. My planning committee for my future work at the WPA formulated 2 task forces focusing on communication and on education. The Communication Task Force has the goal of creating a variety of communication tools to reduce the stigma on psychiatry and to promote psychiatry as an attractive and modern profession. Members of this task force include Professor Petr Morozov from Russia, Mr. Andrew Peters from Australia, both chairs of this task force, Professor Saul Levin from the United States, and myself from Sweden. The task force will work with member societies to prepare short media messages and materials composed according to the ethics code of the WPA. The task force on education will work according to the results from a survey on improvements of the quality of the WPA educational activities. This survey I conducted with section on education, headed by Professor Andrea Fiorillo, with the zonal representatives. The results are published now in the Asia Pacific Psychiatric Journal in September 2021. Educational materials will be directed to psychiatrists, allied professions, students, but also to the public. Members of this task force include Dr. Prasad from India, Dr. Telma Sanchez Villanueva from Mexico, who are both chairs, Professor Aida Silla from Senegal, Professor Celso Arango from Spain, and myself. The task force will also identify presenters and topics and search for members, senior and active, or in early stages of career, willing to help in translation and cultural adaptations of existing and new educational materials. The World Psychiatric Association collaborates with many professional and United Nations organizations working in the field of mental health. My task with my planning committee and other groups will be to inform and invite those organizations in spreading knowledge about our activities and materials, and in some cases to help in the implementation of mass media and educational materials. I will also strive to implement activities of my predecessors, especially to develop further the work of the ACRI committee. It means Advisory Committee on Response to Various Emergency Situations, which arise due to natural and other catastrophes and due to political and economical instabilities. Information and education are tools that can help to endure, to overcome, and to a certain degree master the psychological consequences of different kinds of emergencies. Therefore, the WPA and my planning committee task forces on information and education have an important role to play. Thank you for listening to my plans and vision. I look very much forward to our future work and collaboration, and hopefully soon towards meetings in person to develop our organizations further. Thank you and goodbye.
Dr. Wasserman, thank you very much for those excellent words of wisdom.